Feday.email, you don't need to compromise faith to participate in the modern world. Instead of pushing ads and invasive practices that conflict with Catholic values, we built Feday to reclaim technology for Christendom. When you use Feday.email, you declare your commitment to technology that defends Christian tradition. Join Feday.email today and use technology to advance Christendom.
One of the most pressing issues, if not the most pressing issue, facing Pope Leo XIV early in his papacy, regardless of whatever else you may think of everything else he stands for and is doing, the very financial lifeblood of the Vatican, of the Holy See, is at great risk. There has been calls for investigation by secular authorities to the Vatican, calls for a Doge-type audit of the Vatican. This is nothing new. Going back many decades, going back to World War II, the Vatican Bank, since its inception, has been at the heart of scandal after scandal after scandal. The name Vatican Bank is synonymous with scandal. It has caused more harm than good. It has been accused of being at the center of all sorts of financial misdeeds of involving secular authorities and the church, and has been involved in horrible financial deals that have caused great scandal and caused many people to distrust the very authorities in Rome who should be guiding souls to heaven. It makes people question everything. And yet, the Vatican Bank persists year after year with rare changes. Oftentimes, a new pope comes in, speaks eloquently of needs for reform of the Vatican Bank, and then does virtually nothing. Leo XIV has an opportunity, a rare opportunity, to do something meaningful. Will he do so? That remains to be seen. Let's go to Info Vaticana for the headline. Leo XIV and the Vatican accounts let the expelled return. There's a long, sort of sordid history of the Vatican expelling those who do financial audits. And you would expect this is a call to let Archbishop Vigano back, because before he was made the papal nuncio to the United States, which was a move done to protect him, he had been doing an audit of the Vatican's finances. And he found, according to his own reports that he has publicly said, millions upon millions of euros in places they should not have ever been. Secret accounts being spent on all sorts of wild things. And he made enemies. Something to keep in mind whenever he speaks publicly about things. He saw things in the ledgers that definitely give him a different perspective on the state of the things in the church. Cardinal Pell, we know what happened to him. And then there was Cardinal Angelo Becciu, a cardinal who basically said that he was just doing what he was told to do when he was done and placed in a position to do the same kind of investigation in the Vatican finances. And he ended up being the fall guy for things. This has been an issue. These are not the folks we're talking about here. These are other auditors. These are other officials who were tasked with cleaning up the treasures of the Vatican. It's the misdeeds that you see in these kinds of stories do nothing but reinforce the negative stereotypes that a lot of Protestants promote and a lot of atheists promote. They always say the same things. They always do. Food for thought, I think. But they always promote the same narrative. The Vatican is deeply corrupt, and it can't possibly be the church Christ founded because look at all the stuff they do. And then they point to the Vatican Bank and gives them plenty to work with. This is a source of grave scandal that the Pope needs to fix. We'll see if he does it, though. Now, Info Vaticana has a horrible amount of ads on their website that you can't close down. I know I tried, so we're going to instead use the text and put it into a Word document. I'll have a link to the article if you want to read it. It's in Spanish, but you can easily translate it with a Chrome extension if you want, like I do. But here are the details of the article. Quote, one of Pope Leo XIV's most urgent tasks has no epic headlines or crowds in St. Peter's Square, but it is as evangelical as throwing the merchants out of the temple, putting the Vatican's ailing accounts in order. The problem is that merchants now have access cards, chauffeurs, and offices with a view, and they literally live off of no one understanding anything. Vatican accounting is a cryptic language whose first commandment is thou shalt not give explanations. Therefore, if Leo XIV wants his pontificate not to be a footnote in the saga of unfinished reforms, he must do something unthinkable. Trust those in exile, not those in power. There are two men who know the monster from the inside, and they should be brought back, given an office, and tasked with dismantling the whole scheme. First is Ettore Gote de Tesci, the banker who knew too much. He was the president of the IOR, that's the Vatican Bank, until he committed the worst possible sin, taking Catholic ethics seriously at the Vatican Bank. He began demanding transparency, traceability, reporting, and was fired. He knew the animal so well that when the police came to visit him at his home, he thought they were coming to end him. It wasn't paranoia, it was experience. He knew that anyone who interferes with the interests of certain judicial circles can end up not only fired, but also dishonest, silenced, or defamed. Today he lives far from the spotlight. But if the Pope wants to know the truth, let him call him, and let him listen, and let him go back to cleaning the temple. The other is Angel Vallejo Balda, the Vatican's prisoner 001. He was appointed by Pope Francis to COSEA, a commission to reform Vatican finances, and he started off with enthusiasm until he lifted the rug. What he found wasn't fluff, but a morass of self-interest, deceit, accounting tricks, briefcases, impossible investments, and morally unspeakable evasions. So what did they do with him? The same as any plot worthy of Sorrentino. They fabricated a fake scandal involving journalists, women, and luxury cars. He ended up in Vatican prison, detained for 16 months without the slightest hint of mercy so often preached. The first priest imprisoned in the Eternal City for daring to speak out about what he saw. 8 years have passed. No one has rectified their actions. No one has apologized. No one has responded to what he reported. They just made sure he wouldn't be mentioned again. And then they add another name, Libere Molone. Although he wasn't there from the beginning, and he didn't know the sewers as well, it would be unfair not to mention Libero Molone, the Vatican's first Auditor General, who also tried to bring some order and sanity to the chaos. He arrived with good intentions, reviewed balance sheets, requested paperwork, and was eventually forced to resign under accusations as vague as they were absurd. Another who dared to look within was devoured by the system. If the Pope is looking for help cleaning house, he better start by bringing back those who already tried to sweep and were kicked out for it. End quote. I'm going to throw the name Archbishop Carlo Maria Vigano in there as well. Meet with him personally, privately, reassure him that all the things he's worried about and has started posting on X about and in private speeches about the influence of the secular authorities and things in the church and how the church has been co-opted for evil ends by the secularists. Meet with him privately to reassure him that those things aren't real or that he's going to address them, and that he needs his help and information on the things he found regarding the finances of the Vatican, because Vatican Bank is at the center of all this. So another key figure in the Vatican Bank story, and he's no longer with us. That would be former Cardinal Theodore McCarrick, who traveled the world with boatloads of cash that nobody knows where he got them from, and used it to grease the palms of clerics as well as politicians. And everybody knows what McCarrick's name is synonymous for. This is a dark, deep, dirty hole that needs to be cleansed. So love of money is the root of all evil. Not money, the love of money. When you're dealing with these kinds of financial problems, it's always the love of money, a disordered love of material wealth that you find at the heart of it. We hear a lot about the Church of the Poor. You want to move towards a way of spiritual poverty for the church, a church that recognizes that everything we have spiritually and materially in this life comes from Christ himself. Not a prosperity gospel, but one that recognizes who the author of all things is, and that grace takes many forms. If you want to get back to that message, clean up the Vatican Bank. You get a food taster when you start it. You'll need it. Curious what you think about this. Do you think this is a good idea to bring back those who have been canceled? Because there's a long track record of them being canceled. When you start putting the clerics' names in, Cardinal Pell, Cardinal Becciu, and Vigano, begin to see a pattern here. Something very seriously rotten in the Vatican Bank. And some have begun asking questions like, how much did each pope of the last half century know about the situation in the Vatican Bank? And why did they let it fester? Did they let it fester because they were afraid of what would happen if they dug too deeply? Or were there other reasons they let the situation get worse and worse and worse? And we have no answers to those questions. We can do something about it. And that's if the Pope uses his authority to bring in the experienced people to clean the mess up, come what may. Pray that he has the fortitude to do this. I'm curious what you think about this, so let me know in the comments, please. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't. It certainly helps. So just sharing this on social media, that always helps too. And as always, pray for the church. I'm Anthony Stine. Ave Maria.